Colorado Senator Michael Bennet is a Democrat on the Intelligence and Finance Committees. Of course, he's from the great state of Colorado, and it's good to have you here. Do you think it's possible that the president decides that he doesn't want to sign it and that there would have to be some sort of interim spending bill?
I hope he does decide to sign it. I think that this is a reasonable compromise to get past an issue that has obsessed the Congress for the last 6 weeks or 2 months. That there's a lot of other work that needs to be done here, and if we've got a bipartisan deal, he might as well sign it and just move on. That's what I would say.
All right. Well, he has just said that we're going to see what happens. She said she's not happy. Sarah Sanders saying he's not happy. But he also might go ahead and sign it. I wondered if you could help clear up for us, because you're on the Intel Committee, the discussion between Richard Burr and his Democratic counterpart on the Intel Committee about the Mueller investigation. Take a listen.
I'm just saying what factually we found to date. We haven't finished with our investigation. And I think just recently, I think there was a story that said the Democrat staff confirmed that that's where we were. We've still got some investigation left, though.
So, and then Mark Warner, who's the ranking Democrat on the committee, said, well, not so fast. We might have a different conclusion there. What do you know?
The investigation hasn't been concluded, and I think reaching conclusions based on an incomplete investigation would be a mistake. It would be a bad mistake, and we should be allowed to conclude our investigation, just like Mueller needs to be able to finish his investigation, and then let's see where the facts lead us.
So you're advising people, don't read too much into either one of what the chairman or the ranking chairman said.
I wouldn't, and I think all of us are really not supposed to say what's going on in the Intelligence Committee.
Okay. So let me take you to Colorado for a second. Of course, you're from there. You have served there. You've been a public servant there. Just last night, Colorado advanced a bill that would join many other states. I think there's 13 other states that would tie Colorado's electoral votes to whatever the national popular vote was in a presidential election. So, for example, if President Trump were to win in Colorado, but the popular vote went to the Democrat, then Colorado would have to send its electoral college votes for the Democrat. Is that something you would support?
I have to read it. I haven't had a chance to read it. But let me say this. Directionally, I am for getting rid of the Electoral College. I think that we ought to have. Yeah. I think that we ought to have direct election of our presidents, and I think the Electoral College is antiquated. It belongs to centuries, 2 centuries ago, and it'd be good to fix it. Whether we ever are able to fix it is another question. Obviously, a journey like that takes a really long time.
Well,
in the meantime, Dana?
I was going to say that it would require a constitutional amendment, which is very difficult.
And that is difficult, and it takes a long time. In the meantime, we could be working on a lot of other things, like the lack of economic mobility in this country, infrastructure, education, all the things we need to be doing while we are completely obsessed with this wall that the president, finds himself occupied with. I mean, and I would say, going back to that question you asked earlier, that if he tries to do emergencies, sort of emergency attempt to move money around, I think he's going to get a lot of objection, not just from Democrats, but from Republicans as well, who think the Constitution says that it's the legislative branch, it's our prerogative to decide where the money goes. And to say nothing of the fact that he's declared over and over again that he wants to use eminent domain to steal the land that under which he wants to build this wall that now belongs to farmers and ranchers in Texas. I don't understand why any Republicans support that.
Well, so we'll see on that. I do think, that while the president helps set the agenda, of course, in Washington, the Democrats are trying as well. And, of course, the Green New Deal introduced by Senator Markey, your colleague, and then on the House side as well. There's going to be a vote on that. Mitch McConnell says there will be. Do you support the resolution as it's written?
I certainly am looking at the resolution, but we should ask ourselves why Mitch McConnell is putting it on the floor. Because he's the most strategic person in Washington. It may sound funny for a Democrat to say that. I don't agree with what he's done on judges. I don't agree with what he's...
But you would say that he is strategic.
But he's strategic,
yes.
And what he's trying to do is trap people on either side of that divide. And all I would ask of my party is that we be as strategic as him without being as malevolent as he is.
So when you, I know that you are thinking about possibly getting into the race in 2020. What do you think the Democratic Party so far in the list of candidates that's out there, what is it missing? Is it a more moderate voice?
I think that we've got tremendous candidates out there already, but I think that we have to focus like a laser beam as a country, not just Democrats, on our lack of economic mobility. You know, for a long time we've accepted the idea that we can live with income inequality because everyone in America can rise. Well, for the last 50 years, 90% of Americans have not gotten benefit of economic growth. That's a challenge we have to address if we care about our democracy, because democracy cannot survive without broad-based economic growth. And
but
how
would you
we
agree
get there,
that the president is overseeing an economy that is giving some movement to some of that? The wages going up, unemployment's down. Of course, you know, Denver, it's thriving.
Denver is thriving. If you look at a line of job growth or economic growth from about 2009 until today, that line has gone like that. So it started here, it's gone like that, and I will agree with you that during the course of the Trump administration, the line continued. The Trump administration starts here. The line starts here. America has brought us that economic growth. What I would say is he has given us a tax policy that has made matters worse with respect to income inequality in this country. And on top of that, he has created this monstrous deficit when we're at full employment, which is something we've never done. Right. So the idea, or at least not done since the Vietnam War, and it was more modest than this. Right. So the idea that we have a $2 trillion deficit bearing down on us when we're at full employment, when this Republican president has been president, shouldn't surprise me, because what he said to the voters was, you're going to get the biggest tax cut you ever got. I'm going to give you the biggest defense increase you ever saw. I'm not going to touch Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security, and I'm going to pay the debt off in 7 years by negotiating. Ridiculous.
But would you touch Medicare, Social? Would you touch Medicare?
I
Social
think
Security?
we have a big problem that we are spending twice as much on our health care as any other industrialized country in the world is spending on health care.
All right, Senator
That's
Michael
what we
Bennet
need to
of
address.
Colorado. Come
Thanks
back.
for having me,
more.
Dana.
We'll talk more. Thank you. We'll be right
Appreciate
back.
it.
All right. Meanwhile, our big story for the last couple of weeks really is, what is the president going to do when the House and the Senate finally vote on something regarding the border deal? And we're hearing that the president, we haven't heard from him directly, but we've heard through his people, he apparently will sign the legislation. It could be voted on the House tonight, the Senate tomorrow. He has tweeted this out.
I want to thank all Republicans for the work that you have done in dealing with the radical left on border security. Not an easy task, but the wall is being built and will be a great achievement and contributor toward life and safety within our country.
And just keep in mind, for practical purposes, the president's not going to slow down, because he's building 45 miles now. Then he'll get money for 55 more miles. That'll bring you right up to September. I don't even think they're going to be done with the if he does sign off on a 1.375 by September. So by September, the negotiations will start again, and the president will finish the wall. Right. If you saw that rally in El Paso, it was finish the wall.
All right, let's get through.
It wasn't building.
Let's get through and look at what this deal looks like.
That's right. They've been working on the language. These are the, in principle, ideas. About $1.4 billion for physical barriers, 55 miles of new fencing. The Border Patrol can use any current design that is incorporated in the new stuff. No cap on migrants detained by ICE. There would be a path to reduce ICE detention beds and improvements to Border Patrol holding facilities. Keep in mind, the reason we were talking about $5.7 billion is because the Border Patrol and the ICE people said to the president, that's how much we need, and if we got that money, we could address 5 of our top priorities. Well, not getting that much money, so essentially Border Patrol and ICE will be able to get 1.3 and get some of their priorities achieved. We're going to talk to Sarah Sanders, the White House press secretary, live at 8:30, and we're going to ask her whether or not the president intends to sign it.
Well, President says no matter what, we will get a wall. He says it'll be a big, beautiful wall, and he will find a way to pay for it. His chief of staff has said there's a possibility he could get a little money here, a little money here, but this is a start. And you have Senator Shelby, who is a big part of this. He said this is just a down payment. He said, we did get you some money, Mr. President, and you can build 55 miles of a wall the way you want to build it, with the steel slats.